thanks for rejoining us. It's still Missed Grill on OSRC television. And like I said before, today we have quite a lot for you. But let's start with the commissioners, the new commissioners that have been given portfolio. And as I said, we have a guest that will take a look at the topic, new faces, old challenges. What should ONDO people expect from the new commissioners? And I said on this program this morning, we'll be reading out the proper commissioners and their portfolio this morning. I go straight into that before I let you meet my guest. We have Professor Igbekele Ajibefun. It's an education engineer, Ayorinde Abiola Olawoye. That's the man at the M of affair at the infrastructure, lands and housing. We have Honorable Ayodele Akonde, water resources and public sanitation. Engineer Alabi Johnson, energy and mineral resources. Alaji Amidu Tapuro, local government and chieftaincy affairs. Also, we have Otumba Adewale Akinlosotun. He's regional integration and diaspora relations. Also, Mr. Idowu Ajanakun, information and orientation. Dr. Sheung Abosede Osamaye, women affairs and social development. Dr. Tob Loko is in charge of environment. Mr. Olaolu Akindole, budget and economic planning. Honorable Sunday Olajide, physical planning and urban development. Also, Mr. Omoyo Fumishegun Henry, youth and sports development. We have Pastor Bola Ademuwagun, commerce, industry and cooperatives. Also, Engineer Leye Akiola, agriculture and forestry. Dr. Banji Awolowajaka is the man for health. And finally, Honorable Adesoji Afolabi, culture and tourism. These are our commissioners and their portfolios. Okay, to discuss this morning, I have Mr. LEKAN OLAJOBI. He's a public analyst. Good morning, Mr. LEKAN OLAJOBI.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
The pleasure is mine. Okay, now we have our commissioners and we have the portfolio. Is there really a departure from old order selection and appointment of these commissioners? Let's start with that.
Oh, thank you so much. There can never be anything new without the old input, mixed, just like your program, Mixed Grill. We know that there have been an old administration that's just led or gave birth to this new one. And, government is always in the continuum. So we know that there are some of old challenges, like you have rightly put it, that we had, that were inherited from the last government. And of course, this new government now will bring new faces again to put their hands into the wheels to see what they'll be able to do. However, the summary of the last administration, even the governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, who is the current governor of this state, was a deputy governor with the old order, and then it shows that for his predecessor, they were together, owing to the fact that they had a joint ticket to run that government. And we saw that government was a government of the redeemed. That's the agenda. So that government at that time, to the blessed memory of late Arakunri Akeredolu, who was the former governor of the state, came on board. And then towards his last lap of the tenure, because he ran two-term government, was when our current governor, became the deputy governor of the state. And they ran it all along until he passed on. From thence, he concluded that previous government, spending about some less than 2 years or so, and he was re-elected as a governor. And then it now shows that some of the burdens, is not new to government, because they ran that government before, unlike if we have just got a new governor entirely who wasn't part of that system before. So I still see it as an offshoot of the previous government, which of course would give him an advantage, so to say, over someone who perhaps would have been a new governor who would just now have to put his hand in the saddle of governance. Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has been in this saddle for some years now, and now is running up with most of those projects that they have had in time past. And of course, he has to, inaugurate his own members of the executive to carry out his implementations of his policies, which of course is now done. And then, if you have checked the list of those new commissioners, you will still see some old hands too.
Exactly.
About 4 of them, Akindoliwe, OLAJOBI, Ajaka, and then,
Takuro
and all that. So I do not see a new hand as such in that government, except for some few, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. It's a mixed grill of the old and the new. So
okay. Now, with what you just mentioned, do you think this cabinet formation reflects a genuine desire for reform, or is just political recycling?
Well, we won't say it's a political recycling, because what he has done right now shows some sagacity in administrative efficiency, because he has been able to, with the hands they had the last government, put them into the saddle, then mix them up with a new set of people who are commissioners right now, so that a blend of them, would at least in a way, because his own agenda, which is Odatiwa, is an offshoot of the redeemed agenda of later Akeredolu. So it means that our ease, which is of course his mantra now, which even the appropriation bill that he made was called the budget of recovery. That's in terms of what the budget will be for the year. And his major focus was that, look, he wants a renewal, a revamp, or a jump start of the economy of ONDO State, which of course is the basic stuff that is written in that budget. So to say, we would see now how the budget will be implemented with the commissioners when they put their hands on, on deck to see what they'll be able to do. For me, I see it as an opportunity again for the people, the government, and the people of ONDO State to see how the economy can be jump-started, and that it will serve as a tool, in a way, for, as I have said, he wanted a massive infrastructural renewal. That's his major thing. So all of these are important for us to see how they would commence.
Okay, if you're saying it's not political recycling, then let's take a look at the old ones. Can you tell us any of their track records of their appointed commissioners, and will you say they performed well in their previous appointments?
Well, thank you very much. You see, government itself is a synergy of a sort, because that's why we have 3 arms of government. Basically, the legislature and then the executive are the ones that makes laws and implements those laws. It's only when they have issues that they go for adjudication and interpretation from the judiciary. However, you know that if that is so, the legislature, which is a part of government that makes those laws, I remembered when the appropriation bill was signed, there were some other legislations too that were signed by the governor, just like the transparency bill, it has the anti-land grabbing bills and all that. That's to tell you that the legislative arm of government too is functional, and I think they are in collaboration with themselves. But with what you have asked me concerning the commissioners and all that, all depends on the governor, because the buck stops as a stable. He must have seen some things in those people that he appointed as commissioners, in terms of how they can perform before he appointed them. So, but even at that, his overall interest would be that they perform and they commission so many projects. But the flow of authority and governance comes from the governor himself. So that is a way. And secondly, the synergy too comes from the legislative arm of government, which of course they need a collaboration and cooperation to be able to implement most of the government policies that they would have. Be that as it may, I feel that at this point, if there is a blend, because the governor already has a vision, which of course they call the budget of recovery, and from that vision comes the mission, whereby the commissioners are, given that portfolios that's required. There are some of them, like you have, who have, handed down some of those functions before
Yes.
as commissioners. For instance, health, that's Ajaka, he has been there before. Akindolu Elaolu has been there too at one time or the other. And Olajide was formerly a legislative member, and then I still see those people not as neophytes in governance, and I feel that the governor will have, because he already has a mission statement that he has made concerning most projects, and his major issue is that, coming to check the budget right now, we find out that the budget of recovery was for about 689 billion or so. And out of which he declared that 433 billion would go on capital expenditure, which is on capital projects and all that. And that's about 62.06% of the old budget. Whereas the recurrent expenditure, which of course about 260 something billion, will go for about 36 or so percent. So it means that we have almost 62% expectation of capital projects, much of which are projects that have been done. Some of them were not completed by his predecessors. Of course, they are twin in hand together that did that project, and then we know that some of those projects will be completed. And he already have flagged off some major projects like dualization of roads, Akungba and all those places, Okitikukba, Igbokoda, Duakaida and all that. So there are massive projects, and the most important is the commissioners now must work in tandem with that mission of the government to make sure that most of those projects are not even halfway done but completed and commissioned by the government. On that note, one would have said that, okay, the combination of those commissioners which you have put together to run the affairs of the state in terms of development have yielded results.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that of health. How will you say those State performed under the previous commissioner, who is also appointed in the health sector in Ondo State?
As we all know, we cannot talk about health at this moment without, from the angle of what's going on at the federal level. Because as much as I know, it's in the concurrent list. The state too has their own fair share of it, but most of it flows from what the government is, because health itself is one of the most vital aspect or sector of the economy, and even the human life that must be, taken so very serious because of its relevance. However, I noticed that there have been brain drain, so to say, in the state, not only in the state, across board. But the government has actually done some things in time past now as regards health. There have been massive recruitment in a way, at least to shore up the functions in a way which, of course, has been, having serious concerns. Health is wealth, as I said. So there has been massive recruitment. There have been, remunerations in terms of incentives to allow those health sectors that are moved in droves out of this country for greener pastures and all that. So we have seen a hand in a way that the government is really serious about that, though much is still expected in terms of that area, so that they could fill up that gap that has been there, over time in terms of our health sector.
Okay, so let's look at governance and policy expectations. What are the top 3 issues on those people are expecting the new commissioners to address immediately?
If you check the tool of governance that he made his mantra from, he basically talked about agriculture, which is the first. From agriculture, we have this agricultural bill too that has been signed by the legislative arms of government to enhance productivity and boost on food security. That one is there. We have infrastructure being the next one. Of course, we have talked about health right now, but security too takes a vital role in it. And we know that now it is still part of what government is actually discussing as regards state police and all that. But we have the Amotekun, and then just as a subsidiary to help in managing the security architecture of the state. Which of course, when this government has been on board, has been trying. At the time, probably some months back, we had this security challenge, but I mean, as we speak right now, it has been, it has been ameliorated, and then there has not been any of such again happening as such. So the government has stamped his feet on ground to make sure that security is guaranteed. So the three major things I would put it in order is, first of all, without security there cannot be development and economic growth. And then, if that is gone, if that is done, then even investors will have, reasons to come around here and put the investments on ground. And then secondly, massive infrastructure through agricultural produce, because right now there is a high cost of living, not only in Ondo State, but in all aspects, due to what happened as regards the basics of that security challenges we've been having from the northeast and all that. So farmers find it very hard right now to grow their crops and bring in and boost productivity and enhance their food security. That's on their own side. Now he has talked about the revolution of agriculture, and he made emphatically that there's going to be enhancement in terms of loans, in terms of bringing in seedlings and all that, equipments like tractors and so on and so forth to enhance that sector. I think that sector needs, in the priority list or the scale of preference, I think it must be taken very seriously, because food shortage right now and security is really hampering a lot of things to be done and in terms of social welfare of the people here. So agriculture, infrastructure, security, I think are in the forefront. But by and large, it's not to say that none of those are not important. Education should be part of it too. We are seeing that, as much as the governor has even continued from that arrangement that's had with his predecessors to at least subsidize some of those, fees and all that are being paid by students, secondary school and all that, we know we still need more. But once there is security, there will be a conducive environment for people to actually explore their own potentials in terms of bringing forth, food, social welfare, basic infrastructures, and all those things put in place in the country. So we know that, as this government has said it in his mantra, that and with the budget of recovery that he has said, that there will be infrastructural renewal. Most of the old roads, for instance, we have seen it, especially in the metropolis, where he has, revamped some of those roads, renovates and all that. So we are saying that if it continues at that pace, it's good. And one thing too that it did that actually must be, highlighted at this point is the Anti-Land Grabbing Act. It's important, and I saw a great deal of importance and value in that, because land disputes have become so solid and rampant in our society. So with that anti-land grabbing bill that they came up with, we have seen that a lot has been laid to rest now. You can be sure that if you have a plot of land bought, no one can come there. The C of O issue has been settled even in previous governments.
Yes.
So it continued with that, and to a certain extent is even part of what will bring peace and order into the society. So by and large, the synergy of all this will make it good if the government, with the counterparts, and those are the commissioners being appointed, to work in tandem with the mission and vision of the governor, Loki Aiyedatiwa, so that in the long run, they will be able to have convinced the people that the dividends of democracy they campaigned for, yields profits, and people are happy about it and they live in peace and harmony.
Okay, it's good you mentioned all of that. For us to achieve success, it means that the commissioners must also work. Can the commissioners really make independent impacts, or are they tied to the governor's reach to do this?
Well, it's both. But innovations and creativity is part of what is important in governance, and as such, one would see that yes, if you're appointed as a commissioner, there must have been some certain ingredients of governance or administrative capacity that the governor would have seen in you. However, what's most important is that innovations and ideas too, cannot be relegated to the background. As a commissioner, you still have that right, even in spite of the budget, in spite of the projects and the programs, the innovative, considerations that can be brought on board. That's why they have the ESCO meeting, so as to discuss about issues, policy formulations, and all that. So the strategy for good governance too does not rely solely on what the governor himself does. Sometimes the governor can be advised to on some certain things. So I believe that they won't or they should not be tied to the strings of the governors as such. Yes, others are their mission statements have been made. They have visions of what to be achieved. Conclusively, both of them can come together as a team to be able to deliver, the deliverables that are expected for the people.
Okay. We always talk about youths, and we know that youths are actually the leaders of tomorrow, and that they need to be integrated in the scheme of things in Nigeria and, of course, all over. So, in your opinion, do you think youths have a fair share of this commissioner appointees?
All these things flows down from the federal structure, and you know that this idea that was mooted at the time that there must be representation of youths. And I think a bill is going on right now whereby even not the youths alone, the less privileged or the handicapped too must have a fair share of, governance,
Yes.
which is supposed to be a government of inclusivity, where everyone would have a fair share of governance. Yes, for me, even in Ondo State now, we're very lucky because one of the junior ministers is from this state. And that's showing off to all of us that the federal government really meant it when they said they want youth participation in politics. In this arena, the Ondo State, have seen that even our governor could still be termed as a youth. He's a youth-friendly governor, and then because of that, he is really accessible, and he gives them considerations in terms of what he does. So I still see that a lot in terms of these appointments. I do not see an old garrison in some of these governors commissioners that have been appointed. So, but then we need to still encourage the governor more that even apart from appointments, there are situations in terms of projects where youths can be included, empowered to be part of it, even without appointment from them. But we have seen a broad-based appointment that has cut across all facets of the state, the sunshine state of ours, which the governor has, done. Then it's a continuity. One would still expect that there's still a mid-term scorecard report. So, which of course is supposed to be the evaluation of what each commissioner must have done. And you remember, some of them, if they have done well, they will perhaps run the gamut of the old tenure of governance with him, and some too along the line might be an exchange, relieved and have some other hand. So it's a continuum. Let's see what the commissioners will do as they have been appointed at the moment. The hopes are so high. You know that it's a Renew Hope agenda too from the source. So the expectation is high. And my own piece of advice is that most of those projects that the governor inherited perhaps will be good for the state if they are completed. And some of the ones that he has flagged off, they should, not let grass grow under their feet, to keep the ground running, to start off those projects as soon as they are flagged off, because time is of essence at this point. So I'm encouraging that it's a very good vision they have had. The team is good, and of course the expectations are high. So, and it's an opportunity again to allow our people, to engage with them, allow them time and see what the government will be able to do. But that can be done in a state of security, in a state of collective responsibility and will, in a state of collaboration and cooperation. And above it all, wish the government well while they to participate in governance, so that all of us, put together, be able to achieve the dreams that the governor of this state, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, has for the state people.
All right. Apart from the youths, will you say, because I'll talk about gender, will you say it's the appointment also reflects a balanced gender and also the regional representation across the state?
Yeah, thank you so much. I will still, reiterate that the inclusivity that they talked about in governance, right now the bill is ongoing that 35% should be from, the other gender, so that everybody would have that participatory obligations, in governance. However, we saw that trickle down. Most of the times, there are 2-3 major positions that are given to the women in states. First of all, we have the First Lady, who is the wife of the Excellency. They always come with projects and all that. And from that, we have the Commissioner for Women Affairs, which most times is not, they are not men, they are women. So to take care of what is expected to be done to women folk generally as a gender. So I think there's no way, there's a balance that has to come into play in gender inclusivity in governance. The governor has appointed Mrs. Dr. Sheung so as a Commissioner for Women Affairs, and I'm sure that working together with Her Excellency too, they'll have their pet projects, and this to a certain extent too would allow for more participatory exercises from the gender in so many other projects that they might come up with. So I am seeing that in times to come, just like it's going to trickle down from the upper part of governance, which is the federal government, which of course I've said a bill is ongoing to allow for 35% matriarchs for the other gender. So by and large, that no government of the day can succeed without a woman. And as it is said, well, the success of every man, needs or takes a woman behind it. So the collaborative efforts of everyone is important at this point. The governor has started and kick-started and jump-started at the same time the economic and his own vision and mission for the people of Ondo State. All we have rest is to join that team and be participants of the same calling that the governor is giving to everyone. And the state at this moment, I must say it again, needs more of economic activity. And the advantage we have right now is the coastal line that is being made that will run across the state. I'm talking about the Lagos-Calabar Superhighway that's been run, is going to run across the state. And I'm sure when the governor that has flagged off from Oreoso to Ibokoda, Okitipupa Way, will link that road. And of course, if that is done, I can tell you from the South Senatorial District, which of course has a lot of catalysts for economic growth in this state, will just boost. And once that happens, you can see that people will be employed, a lot of economic activities will be going on from all sectors of the economy, the roads, the coastal lines and all those places will bring back a lot of commerce. And if that happens, yes, one can be sure that as much as we call Ondo State a state of civil service, that particular aspect of the economy, once it is revamped one, it is given priority. The blue economy, for instance, the Ondo State is having the longest coastline ever and all that. Once an opportunity that they have come from the federal government to make this happen, they run across Ibokoda and all those places, and there's a link here. You can imagine what happens in terms of the multiplier effect of economic growth that will enhance and boost good and standard of living for the people of the state.
Okay, and there's going to be two in one question. I'll ask, in terms of accountability, what specific mechanisms should be put in place to ensure accountability and transparency in governance? And also, lastly, I just wanted to give you advice to the commissioners and what needs to be done.
Well, thank you so much.
And of course, on the people of Ondo State.
The people of Ondo State. I mean, your first question was about the
mechanism that should be put in place to ensure accountability and transparency.
But thank you so much. It has always been the bane of governance in Nigeria when it comes to accountability and transparency. But you see, I think the major watchdog should be the people. People should stop being docile. People should, be encouraged more to participate in government. And even the FOI bill has given you the information, the privilege and the rights to have and source for information about how you are being governed. It's a social contract. And once the people, find it important and, obligatory to participate in government, they get the government engaged in robust engagement that has constructive criticisms that would put government on their toes. That's a check in a way. I want to say that because civil liberty organizations and all that too can do that, but do that within the ambit of the law, so that it's not going to be witch hunt or whatever. Secondly, the legislative arm of government has an oversight function too. The separation of power has checks and balances, so they can check on what the executive does. And finally, I know that they have been talking about the EFCC and the ICPC and all those, financial crimes agencies that are supposed to act as check. But even beyond that, I think when people are on the same page with the government, information are disseminated as a going deal. People have vital information, relevant information about governance, and then facts and figures are given out, are reeled out on terms of how they are governed, how projects are being handled, and at the end of the day, they give a due diligence on all those things. Once these are done, I think people would make those in government have that sense of accountability. It resides with the people the same way power resides with them. But it must be done in a manner whereby, there has to be this collective understanding, not mutual distrust, in a way that, we won't be able to move on or accelerate the development pace of the state. So that's an aspect of it. Then secondly, on the hand of, my piece of advice for the commissioners is this. The rung of the ladder is a process by which you climb, and then this is an opportunity to serve. For some of them who have been serving before, I want to tell you in one capacity or the other, even no matter how politics is, you have to move, and learn the ropes so that you begin to move from one cadre to the other, and to higher quality category that we expect you to make. So it's an open opportunity for them. They should put in their best as much as possible to make sure that their names are written with their reputation in goals, such that they can be called upon the way the governor has called upon them now for bigger and greater responsibilities for the state. And that includes that they must be people friendly and oriented in all their approaches in terms of handling projects and all that. And at the same time, they must put it on record that whatever is done is made public. Let people see what you have done. Let them give yourself open to criticisms and acceptability from the people and assessment. That's it. And thirdly, who knows whether any one of them after now, yes, we know that politicians do have ambitions, to move from one step to the other. But what crystallizes such ambition is what you have done with the opportunities that you were given beforehand. So if they do well, I am sure most of them later can still be more than what they expected. Who knows whether after these administration have rounded off, maybe any one of them again could be governor. So from all of them, from Kayode Ajulo, who is the Attorney General that has put his hands into governance in the last few years, from Ajakabanji, who has been in the Ministry of Health, from OLAJOBI, who at the time has become was a legislative member in the House of Assembly, and so on. Some of them who have in one way or the other served in the capacity of governance are recalled now to do more. So it means that the commissioners must make sure that they do their best. Who knows at any time whether you can be called upon for greater assignments. And lastly,
even at the federal level.
At the federal level. So lastly, I would advise our people at this moment to engage government with constructive criticisms that will put them on their toes within the ambit of the law, so that when that engagement brings about transparency, accountability, peace and progress and prosperity put together will be the order of the day. So it's a collective responsibility for both the governed and the government to have a synergy and engagement that will bring a lasting solution to some of the challenges we have, and we all live in harmony together.
All right, so let's go to, we all are aware that the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, passed on Sunday and was buried yesterday. Whether one admired or criticized his leadership, his passing does invite national reflection on his legacy, the state of Nigeria, and the future of leadership. For you, how will you describe the late President Muhammadu Buhari?
Well, it's rare in history when you find some people who their, so to put, destinies run round a host of varieties of life and lifestyles and expectations, which at the end of the day, ends up well in the moment that they leave this world that we are in. Muhammadu Buhari is one person with too many parts. And if you have looked and checked his biography or so, you would have noticed that right from where he's young, is someone that's had that opportunity, just like we were talking about commissioners, to serve in one capacity or the other. Even as at when we had military intervention in politics, schools and all that, he had an opportunity, and he was in government for at least about 2 years then as the head of state before he was toppled. And even after then, I think in 1983 that he left, 1985 that Babangida took over. He came back again, I think about 20 years or so after 30, to become the head of, to become the president, the civilian democratic president of this country. So that's by and large, and within that space of time, he ran in different capacities as, the PTF commissioner, the this, that, and all that. So for me, he has seen both sides of the coin, and it's very rare in history to see people like that. Consequently, what amazed me most about his life and his lifestyle is his modesty, simplicity, and the altruistic nature that he has about how to feel for the people. And if you have seen that, yesterday I was going through to check his accounts. He never has a house anywhere else except Daura, probably one in Kano or whatever. His own account that he has opened with Union Bank is the only account he has to date. The amount that is left in his account yesterday, they ran it down, and everybody was amazed for his abstemious lifestyle, his Spartan lifestyle, which of course depicts one of the most exemplary traits of good leadership. So he led that. Amidst of all these, I am not saying he does not have his own shortfalls, flaws, but I'm talking about the strength, the quality with which everybody saw that was why they went back to him at a point, because they saw him as above board, who has a clean record and his Spartan lifestyle, and all that. And abstemiously, funny enough, on a lighter note, when Shehu Gaba, who wrote a book or launched a book some weeks back before the president passed on, said that one thing that amazed him, that even in Aso Rock, the best food Buhari ate was pap and beans. And you look at that as much as that luxury is surrounded him, and he has authority to do that. So one of the leadership qualities that I admire mostly about him is his Spartan lifestyle. Secondly is a disciplined person. Remember the war against indiscipline. So even when he came into government, he was able to prove that worthwhile again. He is a disciplined, fine gentleman, an officer indeed, who had participated well in both the military circle and the civilian democratic circle. So we saw that yesterday was a mixed grill at this program, and everybody from all walks of life were there. However, before he passed on, the wife sent a message that, look, he is not perfect. There are certain flaws he thought he had made, and that he's asking Nigerians to forgive him with whatever thing he has. I mean, that to a certain extent is pious enough to let's see the kind of leadership he is. However, on the other side, yes, one would not say he didn't have his own misgivings in terms of some policies. Some people have seen him not to have made enough effort, saying that honesty is not enough for governance to bring about deliverables. They criticize him on that note. Yes, there are some of his policies, to be very candid with you. Some people still see him as an ethnic bigot. And then, some of those things are religious bigots and all that. But, most of these things are discountenanced by some of those people that worked with him, saying that, look, you might see that on the appearance, but he's a liberal-minded person when it comes to religion.
Especially former Vice President Oshibajo, Professor Joseph Yusef, Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, who also described him as a symbol of discipline, like you said, integrity, and unwavering commitment to the service of Nigeria.
So by and large, I think we must emulate most of those good virtues and qualities that late President Muhammadu Buhari displayed and demonstrated while alive. Consequently, some of those misgivings should be looked into again. We take a cue from it and learn from some of the mistakes. But he has come, he has seen, he has fought, and he has conquered. and has gone back to his maker to give accounts.
Mm.
I feel that at this moment, Nigeria has lost a great statesman. His books and some of the things that he did must be, in some areas, like in advanced clients right now, it should be studied. And then, some of the things that he has done should be immortalized for coming generations to still take history from and learn that he was truly a statesman.
All right, so what do you think Nigerians will always remember late President Muhammadu Buhari for, especially youths and the young ones that are coming out?
Well, it's both ways. They would remember him for being a fierce ruler who always, enjoyed discipline. And at the same time, the youths too. Like I said, one of the things that they said so much against him was the STSTE issue. And to a certain extent, one would not shy away from the fact that maybe that was part of his misgivings that was trying to tell Nigerians to forgive him about. But the youths would, put it down in history that was one of his flaws, that they thought that he didn't do well, could have done better than that. Secondly, the anti-open grazing stuff that brought about the farmers and herders clash, that one is there till tomorrow, and at this point the new government is trying to resolve, coming up with various strategies to be able to lay that to rest, but they saw him as at that time as someone who was still in a way practicing ethnocentrism and all that. So however, the youths at the same time, at the point, made a statement that they said the youths of Nigerians are lazy. And then there were lots of comments that came about
and
that.
The women belong to the outside.
So, well, that could be part of some of the oddities that we expect, some peccadillos we expect from men as well, or humans as well. It cannot be as perfect because it's not an angel, it's a human too, and is mortal. The greater part of what he has done we have seen, and some of his flaws too we have learned from. But put together, I still see him as someone who has displayed some sense of simplicity, modesty, integrity in all that he did.
Thank you very much, Mr. LEKAN OLAJOBI, a public analyst, and we've discussed, touched on various issues, the commissioner nominees, the commissioner appointments of the new the commissioners and the portfolio, and of course the late President Muhammadu Buhari. On the commissioner side, we looked at some new faces, both challenges, and what the people of ONDO State should expect from the commissioners. Yes, sir, quite a lot. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure to always be with you. Always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, maybe we go the other side. We'll soon come back. Mona, stay with us.